Web Show right here on HWWS Web TV. If you haven't had a chance yet, hit subscribe. Come back over and over again. We have got artists, authors, filmmakers, musicians, creative minds of all kinds. And right now, we're on the set. We are hanging out with Stephanie Andrews, the writer of Memories of Wine and Poetry. Ooh, look at that. We have Memories of Wine and Poetry right here. Stephanie, thanks for hanging out with us today.
My pleasure.
How's the Authors for Authors event for you? Are you having a good time?
It was a great day. It was like having TED Talks all day.
It
was wonderful,
amazing?
and TED Talks. Yes.
Some of the most amazing writers and creators
Wonderful.
Giving these presentations today. And we had the good fortune, we had Linda Zerns was on set today with us talking a little bit about her projects. And I know she had to run next door to get her panel. So it's been a really good event today.
I'm in good company then.
Oh yes. Oh yes. This is one of the most amazing creative communities that I've ever seen, and it's what's great about it is everybody is so welcoming.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
absolutely.
This is not. There's everybody wants to do well, but no one. There's not a competitive spirit here. This is really a collaborative community. So let's talk about Memories of Wine and Poetry. Okay. I will ask you the question that all journalists must ask, and probably that your mom asked. What the hell were you thinking? No. So tell us about how you got started as a writer and how you came up with Memories of Wine and Poetry.
I came from a wonderful weekly newspaper family in New Hampshire, and so because of those people and those experiences and those seasons in New Hampshire, for many years. I even delivered papers at 9 years old, and went and picked up advertisements and talked to the people who did our daily and weekly news. My mother had a column in the paper, and my dad wrote lots of editorials. And
oh, wow.
So, and I always heard the sound of the machinery in the back room. So I think that gave me a resonation, you know, in the soul and the body and what I heard.
And for those, and I know it's going to sound really strange for those of you who are not familiar with a newsroom, there's a rhythm and a motion to everything, from the people typing and people getting the stories into their computers or onto their typewriters, to the machinery that prints, to the editors talking to their writers, and everything seems to have its rhythm. Mm-hmm. It fits.
Yes.
And it's, I remember I was working in an office a few years ago just as a side job, and I was, there was a moment in time when I think everything was just happening, and I heard it, and for a minute I was back in the newspaper office, because that's what it felt like. And you very rarely hear that in other offices. Mm-hmm. And I heard it, and I remember getting this big smile on my face and thinking that sounds like work. That's what it's supposed to sound like.
Yes. And occasionally I hear it in old films and new films, mm-hmm. particularly in old films, and I'm so glad your ears and mine have heard the same thing.
It's a rhythm, and my first job was in a weekly newspaper here in town.
Wow.
My first job out of college as a journalist. I interned at Florida Today in their weeklies department.
Wow.
And so the big newsroom, and it's the same sound, but it's just
multiplied.
Magnified. That's
yeah.
right. And then I worked here at Hometown News in the weekly, and it's such a rhythm. Yes. And it is, if you're a writer, it's kind of, I remember my first press pass and the first day in the newsroom.
Wonderful.
And those moments were, I felt like I'd made it, like made it to the top of I was working in a little weekly, and it felt like I made it to the top of I might as well have just won the Pulitzer because I made it into the newsroom.
That's great.
That's an awesome sound to emulate
mm-hmm.
in your poetry. Tell us a little bit about.
Well, I had a thought at having done marketing research in my lifetime. I had a thought, and not to diminish the great history of people writing poetry since they came out of the caves, but I knew that poetry perhaps wouldn't sell by itself, but it needed a bonding, an accompaniment. It needed someone to walk down the spaces of time with, and I thought, I'm going to email 50 of my friends and say, would you write me a little vignette about wine? And 25 people, family and friends, wrote back with a story, and I said, if you would allow me, I'd like to have you know that this is now my property, but I'm going to give it all its honor and all its longevity and all its depth that it deserves. I'm going to call you back if I need to tweak anything. I hope that's all right with you, but I'm going to make it the best it can. And each of those 25 stories are very different, one from the other. I thought they'd all be about some wild party they'd had in Madagascar, and they'd all happened to have gone to the same party in Madagascar, but none of them had, and they were all very different.
Thank goodness, because that would not have been a good compilation right there.
No, and we all know
And there are a lot of people that were at that party that don't want to see how 25 different people saw them that night.
And
So,
Madagascan plagiarism is one of the worst things in the world.
It
We
is
all
true.
know that, but it's very underground, so
I knew
we
I was
can't.
going to like her.
So I had a wonderful longtime friend who's an art director over in Orlando, and he had always said to me, if you need to have a book done, I would love to help you. And he's also a great editor and a great knowledgeable sense man for what words sound like together, when they really are angry, when they're not meant to be together, and when words need to somehow be replaced with a lot of wailing and screaming and crying from me. But he always gave me good suggestions. And I also had a wonderful retired teacher who had taught for 35 years. And also she was sort of my director to sort of keep me on track and keep the railroad train always getting to the right station at the right time. And also dealt with the publisher and the art director, and mainly me, who was sometimes wanted to have an extra.
If you've not ever dealt with an artist, this is an experience I recommend everyone have at one time in their life. First of all, having been on both sides of that coin, being the artist, listening to my editor, you don't like that person for that moment in time. They're taking away things that you really, truly loved at that moment.
Yes.
But it's always usually, hopefully, for good reason.
Always.
Wonderful reason.
Always.
And then being on the other side of it, having worked with artists. Oh, yeah. You need that experience in your life. Because this is your baby. This is your project. Every word, everything was poured in so
Absolutely.
carefully and so meticulously. And then to have someone look at you and go, that really isn't the word we should use. And
Yes.
you're like, no, I really thought about that a lot.
Yes.
And now I'm going to tell you, go back and think about it some more. And it really,
Yes.
it is just a hard thing to do. So you gathered up all of these vignettes.
Yes. And I already had perhaps 20 or 30 poems that I knew could go into the book, and I really liked them. I wanted them there. They were of many different styles and senses of a history of my life and the reader's life. They were relatable and unrelatable, but they were also touchable and embraceable. And my art director also did public domain with the photos or the pictures that were going to accompany the stories. And we made sure that there was a sense of overlappingly embracing of a theme that was subtle, but yet evident, but subtle, and it
So I can kind of feel
flowed
that.
through.
I can feel that newspaper background there. If you're looking at a newspaper, the oddest thing that you can look at is a picture, and then a headline and a story. And if these three things are not a unit, if they don't seem to work together to tell the same story, then you instantly feel off about it.
Yes.
But when they do work together, there's a great harmony there.
Yes.
And so I can feel that newspaper background as you're putting in pictures and with poetry. Not an easy task, I'm sure, to try to find a picture. You know, they say a picture's worth 1,000 words, but if there are 1,000 of the wrong words and they don't go with this 35 good words, then you have a problem.
Very true.
So
yes, bad math problem.
What
yes.
What was the single most difficult part of putting together Memoirs of Wine and Poetry? What was the day that you thought, oh God, is it really worth it? What was that day?
There's something that a writer never wants to have happen, is to have anyone ever go in there, from a grandchild to an ex-teacher, and find one thing wrong. I think those are the things that you are most sleepless about, but it is a lot of work, and it took 9 months. The rewards are absolutely unimaginable, because it is, it introduces you, it's a friend. It is always there, and you can always pick up any page, and you love everything that's been created. It's like a forest of words that continues on growing, and it's ageless in many ways.
And you have those people out there that are on the other side of the camera right now, and when they think or they imagine the writing process, they kind of have this 20s Hemingway-esque picture of you and I with cigarettes ashing out of our mouth and the cocktail in front of us just banging away at a keyboard in complete isolation.
That doesn't sound too bad for a moment.
It's not too bad for a moment.
Yeah.
But really, when what you put together here is really in the spirit of collaboration. There are so many moving parts that image of the proverbial writer is antithetical to everything that you had to do, because you brought so many different people together, from photography to poetry to the people who were delivering those anecdotes and those vignettes.
Yes.
So, as a collaborative effort, what was that like? Again, the writing of a story or editing a story or working in the newspaper, that's a solitary act. I do my interviews, and I come back and this is a solitary act. What you did here was incredibly collaborative. What was that like? What was that transition like? And was it something that was enjoyable to you? And how do you feel with the finished product?
I feel very, very, very proud of everything we created. You have, there's a big T, and it's called trust, and you have to trust those people. You hopefully have to have known them for a long time. You're going to be spending a great deal of time with them, late at night, early in the morning, deadlines, and maybe not working because somebody gets sick or something happens, they need to take a break. You did have a tiny little argument about something, as strange as it seems, you do, and you need to take a break from all that. And you need to go through a book in every single line. You don't do that in a friendship. You don't do that in a relationship. You don't do that in a marriage, per se. You don't do that, with your children. But in this case, you have to go through every single letter, every single word and line. And it has to be the most beautiful gift you can possibly conceptualize. And you've never done it before. You've read a million books in your lifetime, from perhaps every genre since you came out of the cave, and since you were little, or since someone first read to you. But if you have trust and you have honor in those people that work with you, and you know they're going to be there till the end. You may not know about all the couple of little bumpy roads, but it's good.
No, man, that is really, it's a great way to describe it, because it is a collaboration. An artistic collaboration is a relationship, not unlike the other relationships you have, friendships and everything, with the exception that the critiquing of the relationship is going to be constant and far more in depth than we've probably ever done.
Very true.
I know that, you said, we have been, collaborating and putting together art since we could walk out of the caves. And before that, I'm picturing somebody was at Lascaux standing over someone's shoulder going, I don't think that handprint is quite right. And that guy got hit in the head with a brick or a rock, because I know that's how I felt about my editor several times. Because that you send them these beautiful black and white pages, and they send you back this horrid red bloody mess and tell you to make it better.
Yes.
And every time you do it, it does make it better. And it's amazing. What a wonderful gift. Memories of Wine and Poetry, guys. You can find it online, I imagine, at Amazon. Yeah. We're going to put links down below so that you can find Memories of Wine and Poetry, so you can look up Stephanie online and see what her latest and greatest projects are as she moves forward. Please check this out, guys. In the meantime, that card means we have to shut up. She waves it at us every time things get fun.
You were great. You had wonderful stories, and I learned a lot, too. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your stories.
I enjoy this is a conversation. I love what I do because it's a conversation between you and I, and them out there in YouTube land. Thank you guys for listening and watching and hang out. Please check out Memories of Wine and Poetry online. We're going to drop the link down below. In the meantime, thank you to Famous Faces and Funnies, Josh Bauer at JBauerArt for all the art that's on our set this weekend. Thank you to Space Coast Comics, Hearts Helping Others of Central Florida, Brevard Film and Talent, and Mommy and G Creations, who you can get all your Hangin' with Web Show merch from them. So thank you for all that you guys do, and thank you for being here. Thank you for checking out Memories of Wine and Poetry. See what I did there? I thanked them already. That way now they have to do it. It's one of those obligatory things. My grandmother taught me that. You have to do it. Now I thanked you already. Go check that out, guys. Stay tuned in and stay logged on, and see who we're hanging with next.
Great.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That was awesome.
Thank you.
Ooh,